The sun was low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the dry golden savannah. A group of Australopithecus, small but resourceful, moved through the tall grasses, their dark eyes scanning the environment with alertness. The air was thick with tension. It had been a long time since they'd encountered any serious threats, but their instincts told them something was wrong. Their leader, a seasoned female, signaled for the group to halt. She crouched low, her sharp eyes fixed on the distance. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end as she spotted them, a pack of giant hyenas, larger than anything they had seen before, moving swiftly through the underbrush. The pack, with teeth like daggers, was closing in on them, their jaws dripping with hunger. It was a primal dance of life and death. The hyenas had learned to hunt with ruthless efficiency, their large bodies built for speed and power. The group of Australopithecus knew that a direct confrontation would be fatal. Their best chance was to outsmart their predators to survive another day. With the hyenas circling in the group split into two, a strategic move learned from countless struggles for survival. One half of the tribe, led by the elder male, moved silently towards the riverbed. The other group, led by the female leader, crawled towards a nearby thicket of trees, hoping to hide and confuse the pack. It wasn't just survival instinct driving them, it was unity, a fierce bond that had been forged through years of danger and shared hardship. As the hyenas began their encirclement, one of the younger males spotted a break in the circle, an opportunity. Without hesitation, he grabbed his stone tool and hurled it toward a distant rock. The sharp crack of stone hitting stone, sending a deafening echo through the valley. The hyena's attention shifted for a moment, distracted by the sound, giving the group just enough time to move further into the shelter of the trees. But it wasn't enough to throw the predators off their scent. The hyenas pressed on, relentless in their pursuit, their growls growing louder. The atmosphere grew tense as the group's survival hung by a thread. They were close, so close that the heat from the hyenas' bodies could be felt. One of the young ones, trembling in fear, stood too long in the open. A giant hyena lunged its jaws, snapping just inches from the young one's head. In a desperate, instinctual move, the elder male launched himself from the shadows, attacking the predator with everything he had. The two locked in a fierce struggle, claws and teeth, ripping at skin, muscle, and bone. His group watched helplessly, the sound of the battle echoing through the stillness of the savannah. The fight was brutal, but survival was more than a physical struggle. It was a test of willpower. The elder male's strength was unmatched, his ferocity fueled by the desperate need to protect his family. But the battle was far from over, and the hyenas kept closing in. Just as the pack seemed to be overpowering the elder, the leader of the Australopithecus tribe, using a sharp stone blade, leaped from the shadows, slashing at the hyenas' exposed underbelly. Her precise strike weakened their attack, and with the hyenas distracted by their injured leader, the group seized their chance to escape. They scrambled into the trees, breathless hearts racing, and finally stopped out of immediate danger. The elder male, bloodied but alive, rejoined the group. There was no time to celebrate. They had narrowly survived, but the threats would always return. The leader, despite the exhaustion and pain, spoke without words, leading the group toward a safer haven. They knew their survival depended not on brute strength, but on their ability to think, adapt, and rely on each other. The night would bring healing, a quiet, shared meal of roots and berries. The fire crackling warmly as they bonded, their spirits lifted by the hope that they would face another day. The sun had set, but their journey was far from over. Together, they would continue to survive, learning from each encounter, growing stronger, and passing down the wisdom of the hunt, of unity, and of survival itself. The days following the hyena attack were filled with cautious movements. The group of Australopithecus had learned their lesson. Survival was never a given, but a constant fight against the forces of nature. The leader, though injured, had taken charge once more, guiding the group through the dangers of the savannah. The memories of the giant hyenas, their powerful jaws, and relentless pursuit were still fresh in their minds. It had been a close call, but the tribe had survived. For now, that was enough. However, the challenges were far from over. The group found themselves on a new path, one that took them through a dense forest near the river. The trees here were thick and towering, their leaves blocking out most of the sun. The air was heavy with moisture, and the sound of distant animals echoed through the woods. It was a strange new world, one where the constant threat of predators loomed at every turn. The leader knew that the hyenas weren't the only danger. There were other creatures out there, some larger, some deadlier, lurking in the shadows. As the tribe moved deeper into the forest, they encountered signs of another danger, a rival tribe. The markings on the trees were unmistakable, a sign that the territory was already claimed. The group paused, tension rising among them. Rival tribes were not uncommon, and a confrontation could mean death for some, or worse, the loss of their hard-earned resources. They had to move carefully, silently, and most importantly, as a unit. One evening, as the group camped near the river, a strange sound echoed through the trees. The low, guttural growl of an animal could be heard in the distance, and the leader's heart raced. The hyenas were back. But this time, they weren't alone. The rival tribe had arrived, their figures emerging from the shadows like ghosts, armed with sharpened spears and crude weapons. The group of Australopithecus had no choice but to prepare for a battle, not just for survival, but for their very existence. The young hunters, their faces grim with determination, stood at the ready, their stone tools in hand. The elder male, though weary, readied himself for the fight. They would not let the hyenas nor the rival tribe take what was theirs. The female leader, still carrying the scars from their last encounter, gave the signal. The battle began. The clash was brutal, a chaotic mix of human ingenuity and animal instinct. The rival tribe fought fiercely, their weapons aimed with deadly precision. But the Australopithecus, armed only with stone tools, and their strength fought with a desperation born of their will to survive. As the battle raged, the young hunters used their knowledge of the terrain, luring the rival tribe into a trap near the riverbank. There the group had the advantage. The steep banks and rushing water forced the attackers to fight in unfamiliar territory. It was then that the giant hyenas, attracted by the sounds of battle, appeared once more. This time they were not just hunting for food. They had joined the fray, turning the tide of the battle. The rival tribe was caught between the two threats, the pack of hyenas and the skilled hunters of the Australopithecus. The leader of the rival tribe, realizing the situation, called for retreat, but it was too late. The hyenas pounced, dragging a few of the attackers into the underbrush. Their screams drowned out by the savage growls of the predators. The battle was over, but not without cost. The Australopithecus had survived once more, but they had lost a few of their own. The price of survival was always steep, and in the savannah it was never guaranteed. As the group gathered their fallen comrades, they knew that life would continue as it always had. But the scars of battle, both physical and emotional, would remain. The leader, bloodied and exhausted, signaled for the group to move on. They had no time to mourn, not yet. The journey ahead would be filled with more dangers, more rival tribes, and more predators. But the fire of survival burned bright in their hearts, and they would face whatever came next with the strength of their unity. Together, they had conquered the savannah, and together, they would continue to survive. The sun set once again over the savannah, casting long shadows over the land. The group moved onward, their spirits lifted by the hope that no matter what threats lay ahead, they would always have each other to rely on. They were survivors, and as long as they stood together, they would never give up.